Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Game Dosage Podcast. We have got your prescription for your gaming addiction, guys. So hang on to your seats and settle in for a great show. You guys know who I am. Noof Nukem. Boom Boom Kaboom is in the room, but now let's get to the panel members, and I'm going to start on my screen from, I'm going to go from right to left on this one, and I'm going to start with Invader. Invader, what's happening, man? How are you doing today?
Woo! Hey there, boys, and how's everyone doing tonight? Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to the Game Dosage Podcast, the place to be Monday nights for your gaming podcast fix. It's your space fiend here, the intergalactic menace Invader, ready to talk games and take some names. Also, guys, don't forget to share this out to everyone you know, as we're giving away a free console. So when we hit 300 views live, we'll be giving away a console. So remember, sharing is caring.
All right, yes, and before I get to the next panel member, I should let everybody know Glitcher couldn't be here tonight. That is why I'm hosting it on my channel. He will be back next week, hopefully. It looks like work commitments had him tied up. Primal Eve is not here as well. She's a little bit under the weather, so she couldn't be with us. Much love to you, Prime will get better. And Jago, well, don't worry, guys. He's on the way. He should be here shortly, but let's get right over to the next introduction, and let's go with Glitcher's brother, Mr. Photo Proxy or Foxy Proto, however he wants to run that one.
Either way, it all works. It's half Foxy, half Proto. It's all good. I'm ready to talk about games because that's what I look forward to on Monday nights. And everybody who is listening, share this. Free console in it for you if it hits over 300. How easy is that? Do the thing. Do the thing.
How the hell have we not hit 300 already? It's like people don't want to win a free thing. Like, come on.
Ridiculous.
I mean, hell, I'll take anything free at this point. Jesus.
Bring your friends. Tell your grandmother. I don't care how you do it. You just got to get them here, man. You never know. Maybe your granny will even like this podcast. Who knows?
Exactly.
And let's get down to last but not least, the dead man himself, Mr. Stinking Corpse. How you doing, brother? What's going on?
Oh man, just the funnest part of Monday, being off work and then being on here. So, and then get to hang out with you guys, and thanks to everybody in chat that showed up to check us out, and hopefully eventually we'll hit that 300 mark. And Brian Baker wants a Neo Geo, so he said we gotta. Oh
man! He also said he wants a date with Primal. We might be able to fix that. I think Primal's still on the singles list right now.
I'm just more interested if you can even get a hold of a Neo Geo anymore these days outside of $1,000, $1,500 on eBay.
It may not be working, Blades. So it may not be a working one. So
just heads up, if you do get the date with Primal, bring some tissues because I heard she lives with snail trails. So yeah. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show, and let's give a big shout out to the chat. We got UK Daz, who is always hanging around, guys. With Indie Gamer, Siberia's up in the house. We have got Michael Monkey Punch is here. James Dolasek, Hoopy. We've got So Shady, Z Black Rider, James Dolasek. We got Cyber Gunter hanging out in here. Lethal Papa is here as well. We've got our Rob. We've got, man, the list goes on. If I missed anybody, I'll try to get to you later, guys. But thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate everybody that hangs out. The A-Bomb is here, so he's getting ready to drop some bombs. That is good stuff. Brian Baker, which is Delirium Blades on Xbox. Good dude. Let's get to it, guys. Let's get down to some topics. We got some juicy ones here tonight, which should stir up a little emotion here. So let's get into them. Let me just check out the old list. I don't do lists like Mr. Boomstick with the big list in front. I got to cycle down through everything, and God damn it, I got so much shit going on here. And this old crappy computer too. It takes forever to like fucking try to boot up.
Got an update from the Commodore 64, man.
Oh, pretty much, man. But okay, let's start with the first one, and that is Doom Eternal. Of course, it was QuakeCon this week. They showed off footage of a variety of games, but that was one of the ones that was kind of on everybody's tip of everybody's tongue. Doom Eternal. A lot of people highly anticipated sequel to the game from a few years ago. I thought it looked amazing. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to get to the panel here right now, and I'm going to start out in the opposite order. I'm going to head over to Stinkin' Corpse. Stinkin', did you have a chance to check out Doom? What is your impression of it? Did it blow off your asshole cap?
Yeah, pretty close to that. Yeah, I did get to check it out. It looks pretty impressive. It looks pretty fast paced. I've never really been a huge Doom fan, but I'll probably end up picking that up once it comes out. There was some cool stuff that I saw, and then even when they talked about the what you can do as far as kind of hijacking somebody's kind of their single player game is running around being demons and kind of going after them. So I mean, I didn't get to like into the particulars of everything in the game, but the main parts that I caught and what I saw looked good.
Was there any weapons to you that kind of stood out? I mean, to me, graphically, it looked like more of the same, which is not a bad thing considering the original Doom is still one of the most impressive games of this generation. But any weapons, any enemies? Because I know one of the cool things in that game was is how the enemies now they degenerate when you shoot them. You're literally like blowing off chunks of skin and flesh, which is really cool.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. As far, I mean, just overall, I mean, there wasn't nothing that really stood out. There might have been, but just thinking right offhand, I can't think of it right now. But there was just some cool stuff, like a couple spots where like jumping around, you got these like ball floating kind of heads or some shit, and when one of them goes there and grabs a hold of it, and it just kind of like opens up the mouth and everything, just like, wow, that looks fucking cool.
Good old floating balls.
Yeah, floating balls. Got to float them balls.
Foxy Proto, how about yourself, man? What's your take on that amazing trailer?
Oh man, I'm super hyped for it. I've been a huge Doom fan since like the original Doom from the mid '90s. I was playing it on a DOS computer in the middle of class, but that's neither here nor there. I just going into it and watching the trailer, it just looks impressive as just like the last Doom looked. Because it looked amazing. The things you can do, the hijacking another person's game just seems like that's just super fun and just makes for a whole bunch of shenanigans. But yeah, man, I mean, it seems like it's going to be just like that last Doom, where it was just going to be fast paced and just almost very arcadey, because that's what I took away from that last Doom. It was just very fast paced, very arcadey shooter, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
that type of game you need it for. I mean, Doom 3 was very atmospheric, and that was a lot of fun. But getting back to the old school run and gun and just kill everything you can is just going to be. It just looks incredible. That, and it looks like it's. Because with this last Doom almost seemed like it was kind of like almost like a soft reboot. So this seems like this is going to be like hell on earth. And that's pretty exciting.
Cool fact from So Shady in the chat: 10 times the geometry in the world over anything ID has ever put out due to the new engine. That is impressive. I can sum up the new Doom in 2 words: crazy carnage, because that's what it looks like to me. Where most shooters are very methodical in nature, they're very story driven, and you kind of pace yourself. Doom is kind of the opposite way. Doom is pretty much balls to the wall, testosterone filled. Yeah, keep moving or you will die kind of a game. I mean, it's classic shooter base. You know what I mean? It is definitely crazy and great weapons.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It really harkens back to those early Dooms. Doom 1 and 2. And it's going to be rad.
Invader, what about you, man? What are you thinking?
Oh boy, watching the gameplay for the first time, my eyes melted, and I just, I had this huge grin, this huge smile, like just going on throughout. It was amazing. I loved every moment of it. It's like the last Doom, but like amped up on horse steroids. Honestly, like it looks so insane. No, honestly, like I was so excited.
I believe it. Yeah, I'm there with you.
Like because I enjoyed the 2016 Doom a lot. Like I wasn't even expecting to like even buy it. I just kind of bought it on a whim, to be honest with you. I'm like, okay, why not? I was trying to get my mind off some things, and it looked. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And oh man, I couldn't get enough of it. It just played so well. Yeah. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, it's like that, but it's amped up just so much more from what we're seeing, anyways. And when I saw that, for example, that meat hook or whatever it is, and the Slayer just.
It just meat hook shotgun.
Yeah, the meat hook shotgun. Whoever came up with that. It was
intense.
Whoever came up with that idea, oh man, that's so great. And just latching onto like all the demons, and I just went, wow, that is so cool. Like, it was just, it's so simple, but it was just so amazing just seeing like the Slayer just swinging around on the demons themselves and just like shotgunning in the air, doing this, doing that. And the environments just look great. You know, I'm really digging from what we saw anyways, all the new environments, the lighting going on through it. The new weapons. I think we saw like a new shotgun as well, maybe some kind of new rocket launcher looking weapon, and even some of the new enemies. Did you guys see that? I forget what it's called now. That spider kind of looking brain thing.
Like a brain on legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just like it was crazy. It looks so cool, but crazy. I'm sorry if I know the name of it, just it's slipping me. But everything else, just all the enemies look really, the ones that we've seen before in the previous game, they all look updated, and they have just a lot more detail on them. Everything is just so impressive. And my takeaway from this too, it's like, because it was a 2-part thing, and I love the part where the Slayer is walking through that Phobos station
and everyone notices him.
And everybody but it's the music kicks in, and then he's slowly watching. There's all this stuff going on, and then he's slowly being watched by like all the crew there. And that guy, you know, he just kind of looks over like, oh, get away from me. And he has that key card around his neck, and the Slayer just reaching for it. And he just, it's so cool. Yeah. And
hey, to me, you can't beat the classic, man. There's something about taking out the chainsaw and ripping down through a demon that just never grows old, you know, that inspired the Lancer, the Gears of War, you know? No, that's the original Terror Machine right there.
No, exactly. Oh, that and the BFG like 10,000, that thing firing. Oh, beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was funny. During the trailer, I'm watching the chat right for the QuakeCon, and then they get to that part where the Doom guy is going through the spaceport, and then he stops and looks out the window, and you see this giant laser that's firing up into space. It's like a space cannon, and somebody's did, wow, that's a big effing gun, right? And I'm just like, I wonder if he somehow manages to operate that and shoot shit. You know what I mean?
That'd be awesome. Like the ultimate BFG, and it just destroys a planet. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's like a planet destroying gun. That would be pretty dope. All Doom needs is a co-op mode that I think is set and good to go, right? But you know what else is impressive too is the graphic fidelity and how it holds at such a high pace and with so much going on. That's the one thing that not everybody thinks about, but it's a lot of stuff, high fidelity, high polygon count, very polished game, and it runs so smooth. I don't know about the other thing. Here's the other one that I'm almost like still flabbergasted with, is apparently during the release schedule, they said that this is even going to get a Switch release, and it sounds like it could be a Switch release on day one. So holy hell.
Really?
Yeah. Let's see what, Panic Button can do with this one, because they pull off a miracle with the first one. This is going to be interesting.
I mean, I was just going to say the fact that Panic Button did pull it off on the Switch, and pulled it off really well in both portable and, what do they call docked modes. It would be really impressive to see them get Doom Eternal out day one on the Switch. That would be really cool to see.
That's the plan. The thing was, they haven't confirmed if Panic Button was going to do it or if it would be done internally, but it definitely sounds like id and the wizards at Bethesda wanna definitely tap into it, and it does sound like they're aiming for day one, a multiple console release, as opposed to bringing it out later, which is actually a big bonus for the Switch, because I think it will even sell more if it goes with the hype of the launch instead of coming out like 2 years after the fact. So that could be a big bonus for it.
Oh, right, for sure. Yeah, it hits while the iron's hot, and it would convince people that haven't adopted the Switch to go buy one.
Oh yeah.
What's up, people? Shout out to Saltiest Gaming that showed up in the chat. Salty's having a bit of a rough day. Salty, thoughts go out to you, brother. I mean, not that kind of rough. Like, don't worry, sad news, but the life stress bullshit. So Salty, what's up, man? Too bad you couldn't make it. Spider-Man 356 in the chat. Tryhard fan is here. We got Hoopy in here this evening. Daniel Beverly, what's going on, brother? So lots of great people here in the chat, guys. We'll try to get more shout outs later on during the show. As the guys mentioned several times, if we can get 300 viewers, a long way from that right now, but if we get there, we're going to give away a console of your choice. We're not shitting you. That is legit. It is legit like a pile of shit, man. It is there. It just doesn't stink like shit. A new console would be legit. You know what I'm saying?
It would have that new console smell, not the sewage smell.
That's right. P Black Raven is in the house. Silent Wyvern. What's going on, guys? All right. So Doom, I guess just segueing over to some of the other Quake count. What do you guys think about Rage 2? I'm pretty impressed with it. I really like the first game, to be quite honest, and some people might hate on me for this. I'm actually more intrigued with Rage 2 than I am the Doom 2 or Doom Eternal, to be honest with you. How do you guys feel about it? I'll start with you, Foxy.
It's interesting because I mean I enjoyed Rage, the original one, played it a bit and enjoyed it. I was actually more shocked than anything that it was getting a sequel, you know, because I remember it almost just being like a cult classic, you know. It's definitely intriguing. I mean, Doom Eternal obviously was going to steal the show anyway, but it's kind of cool to see this little underdog kind of pop up, and yeah, it looked pretty interesting from what I took in. I didn't take in a lot of it. But it just seems like it's definitely going to be something I'm going to end up wanting to check out too, because again, I enjoyed the first one.
Man, Stinging Corpse, how about you, man? What's your take on Rage 2? Did you like the first one? Are you excited for the new one?
The first one I didn't play. I had a friend of mine that played it, and I used to go there, hang out, and smoke some stuff, and we'd kind of I'd watch him play. And I didn't care too much for it for some reason, but talking with Daz, because Daz really liked the first one. When it got leaked, you know, when there's that rumor that came out that, oh yeah, they're coming out the Rage 2, and everyone's like, well, why the hell are they doing that? And then they showed that real quick little small clip. I'm like, I wasn't too interested, but like during E3 when they showed it, I was sad. I was like, holy shit, this game looks good. Just the environment, everything about the game. I'm like, yeah, I'm buying that. Good shit.
Nice. Invader.
Well, I did play the original Rage, and I liked it. I thought it was all right. The ending, though, was kind of a letdown, to be honest with you. But looking at Rage 2, and at first, I don't know. I was, to be honest, I'm kind of tired of the whole apocalyptic.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm kind of tongue-tied right now. No. But these futuristic games, you know, set in dreary worlds, you know, like these apocalyptic worlds, and but at the same time, I'm looking at Rage 2, and it's slowly growing on me because of the color palette. It's really interesting. It actually has some forests to it and a varied world. The combat looks interesting. The enemies look cool. So it's slowly selling me on it. I've seen a little bit on a little bit of it, and like, I don't know if I'll pick it up, but it's slowly starting to impress me the more time goes along. I think it's great that Avalanche are doing the game because they are phenomenal with the vehicular stuff, the combat there, especially after Mad Max. So I'm slowly being sold on the game. I'm just not sure if it's like a must for me in the near future.
Gotcha. I thought that big football behemoth dude was pretty cool, and some of the weapons look dope as well. Does anybody know is it confirmed, or has anybody mentioned anything about co-op or anything in that game?
I haven't heard anything.
I don't know. I would assume there probably is, but I'm not positive.
Right. Okay. I haven't heard anything either, and I haven't seen footage of like two people playing, so I'm thinking single player with a possibility of multiplayer. But I don't know.
I mean, it would be a no-brainer at this point. I mean, that's just standard with any shooter these days anyway.
Yeah. But those Bethesda shooters, though, the graphics engines they're running, they might be a little too intensive for the kind of current hardware possibly to run two players effectively. I don't know. No co-op confirmed yet, according to Show Shady. Thanks for that.
What I've also seen too, I'm seeing a lot of it may not even have multiplayer because the game is so damn big.
Right, it's true. Shout out to the fastest man in podcasting. True Racer is up in here. What's going on? True Racer's in the house. And who else we got up here in the house? We got Zalker, my buddy Zalker from online. He's up here as well. So cool. Shout out those guys. Let's keep her rolling. Anybody else final thoughts on Rage?
I'll give it a shot, I guess. Like, we'll see. I just got to see some more. Like, some more missions, some more of the world. But it's impressed me. It's slowly impressing me. Like I said, it's definitely shaping up to be a good game. I can definitely say that. There's definitely a lot of quality there. The combat looks great, and I can see why people would be excited for it.
Gotcha. Well, let's head over to we're going to segue into the next topic, which is actually almost part and parcel. We're speaking of Bethesda. So let's talk about the next topic on the list. And that is that Bethesda might not release the Elder Scrolls Legends on systems that don't allow crossplay, which as far as I know right now is pretty much the one and only PS4. Now, while that's just a card game, it's still an Elder Scrolls card game, which is likely to be very popular. And that's an interesting precedent for Bethesda to come out and just say, "Hey, you don't support this game's crossplay. We're gonna keep this game off your system." We also just found out as well that Bethesda are not going to release Fallout 76 on Steam, which was quite an interesting development as well. So, what's your take on this whole crossplay thing against Sony? Is this going it's just one little game, but is this going to signify where many of the industry companies are going to go in the future? And let's start out with you, Mr. Stinking Corpse. What do you think about it, bro?
Oh, wow. I think it's going to maybe open some eyes over on Sony, possibly. I don't know, maybe with this game in particular. Now, if other games, other devs start saying that same thing, or they're looking into it, they may kind of, I don't know, may kind of strong arm Sony into actually giving in and maybe doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, time will tell on that. Like say I didn't know exactly, what, this game entailed for the most part, being a card game. But likely with it being an Elder Scrolls game, it's probably going to sell well, but I don't know. Maybe they may not right away. They may give in later on. I don't know.
Corpse, are you even into those type of card games? Because I know, like, even Gwent came out from The Witcher, right? And like for me, I don't know. I just can't get into any of those strategies. No matter what name they stick onto those card games, they're just too complex and just too boring for me. I don't know. Do you like them at all?
I haven't tried the Gwent game. I've of course in The Witcher 3, they've got that within the game. I've played a few things of it. I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. They really don't gravitate toward me. I tried to kind of give it a chance and kind of figure it out, but I guess I don't know. I just maybe didn't put enough time into it, but because I wanted to finish the game because the game's so damn long. Yeah, I'm not really into that stuff. At least right now, I'm not.
Gotcha. How about you, Invader? What's your take on the whole crossplay with the card game?
Well, it's definitely interesting that Bethesda are choosing to go at it with this game, this little Elder Scrolls card game. I don't think it'll have enough traction just because it is this small card game. I know it's an Elder Scrolls game technically, and it is Bethesda, but I don't think it really hits the news wire as much as what a Fallout would, or an actual mainline Elder Scrolls game would. So I don't think that this will really hurt, because they're referencing Sony pretty much in all these. If you look at a lot of the articles, I think it was Game Informer that interviewed them, and they're asking, Sony and letting the cross play and so on and so forth, and they're very adamant about wanting to do the cross progression and cross play, and going into the nature of the game itself. It's just I don't know, like it's good that they're putting pressure on them, and it's good that they're going after like this. It's just I don't think that this game has the kind of traction, has the kind of pull that like a Rage would, or it would have to be more of a main title, like a blockbuster title, in order to catch more eyes, more views, and more attention personally.
Yeah, but I bet you the story would be much different had they said it was Fallout 76, though.
Yes,
oh yeah,
I would agree.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, that's what I'm getting at too, right? Like it would have to be like a really big title that they're pushing, and again, this little card game, it's not going to do it.
No.
But if it was Fallout 76, and Sony's withholding this and that, then that would really get the news churning. Then a lot of people would be taking notice to it. But I don't really think that. Again, I just find it interesting that they're making a lot of they're trying to make a lot of noise with this. It's just to me, it just doesn't have the traction. So,
give us your 2 cents on this, Proto. What do you think, bro?
I'm with Invader. I'm thinking there's just not a whole lot of traction behind it because even though it is Elder Scrolls, it's a smaller game. You know, I'm there again with you guys saying it's like if it was something bigger, like you said, Fallout 76, it would raise some eyebrows. But what I think is interesting here is it seems like they're dipping their toe in the water a bit. They're seeing what feathers can get ruffled. They aren't going to take one of their big name titles like a Fallout or Doom or whatever and nix it on Sony, because let's call a spade a spade. It's geared towards Sony because everybody else is playing nice right now. You know what I mean? Sony are the holdouts. And
Yep.
so Bethesda's thinking, okay, well, let's take a small game. And yeah, it is Elder Scrolls. It may be popular. I've never played the type of the type of card game is it based like almost like a trading card game would be? Or I'm not that's my
I'm not
ignorance in this
100%
part.
sure.
I mean, if it gains any kind of traction, like let's say and this is just me going off of a very broad comparison, like if it like a Magic the Gathering arena or something like that, where you have a huge install base, then I think some heads will turn. But it depends. It depends on how well that would do, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, like when you think about it too, like I'm pretty sure Bethesda's investors would not like a big game being held off of the major platforms, right? Especially Sony with like 90 million consoles sold right now, right?
Oh, right, exactly, and that's why I'm with you on that. Where I'm saying they're not going to do it with the bigger title, but I think they're slowly dipping their toes in the water, because ultimately this whole crossplay thing, it's starting to gain a bit more traction. People are, I mean, it's obviously not going to stop selling consoles, but more and more people are talking about it.
Absolutely.
So now when they see, like, yeah, it's a small game, but now you're going to start maybe seeing another dev or two follow suit with, again, smaller games.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, yeah, if they're not going to play nice, we're going to keep it off of there. And you get enough people doing that, eventually you're going to start seeing bigger and bigger things happen. And ultimately it's money talks. If they find it successful, Sony's going to say, hey, we want our hands in on it. And then they're going to turn around and say, well, you need to play ball.
Yep.
If
enough fans buy the game and the demand is there, somebody will eventually have to buckle and bend. And it may not happen this gen, but I seriously think that, Sony's stance may have to change or eventually will change with the upcoming PS5. But again, that's a ways out. It's not a the be all end all game. It's not going to break things, like Tryhard said in the chat. It might never really shift focus until they do something against something like Call of Duty, something that's massive. But it's a start. But regardless, it still says, like, at the end of the day, it's Bethesda is going to march by the beat of their own drum. And they're going to put some pressure on different people, and it's interesting. It'll be one of those things just to kind of watch and see where it pans out. Right. So let's get into the next topic again. This one has been one of the most talked about topics over the last few days. Daryl Gallagher, for those of you who don't know, he is the studio head of the Initiative, which is one of the brand new Microsoft game studios that they originally signed and announced at E3. Daryl Gallagher himself comes from a big pedigree at Crystal Dynamics. He's a former studio head and producer, I do believe, on the Tomb Raider, the newer Tomb Raider from 2013, and then the Rise of the Tomb Raider game. So he comes with a bit of a background. But in one of his tweets, which has since been pulled down, people screen capped it, obviously, he went on to announce that they have hired a variety of talented, amazing people for the studio, guys. And here's some big names are going to drop on you right now. This is just, to me, when I drop these names, it's going to show you that Microsoft is not messing around, that they're dropping money and they're dropping intent to get some of the biggest and brightest from the industry, and they're going to push forward with some crazy people. Here's who they snagged. Brian Westergaard, the lead producer of the latest God of War game and Rise of the Tomb Raider. That is amazing. That is a big name name right there. Annie Lower, a recruiter who formerly worked at Respawn Entertainment, Riot Games, and Microsoft Studios. Christian Cantamesa, writer of Red Dead Redemption and Middle-earth Shadow War. Blake Fisher, Senior Director of Portfolio Planning at Microsoft for 16 years. Daniel Newberger, Co-Director of Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider. And Lindsay McQueenie, hired as the initiative's HR culture manager. And again, there's some big names in there, maybe not all recognizable, but it just goes to show you that Microsoft is committed to this studio and to bringing you the biggest and best games whenever they come out, probably for the next generation. So, guys, weigh in on this. I'm going to start here with Mr. Stinking Corpse. Buddy, what do you think about Microsoft snagging that kind of talent, especially the first one? Brian Westergaard, fresh out of God of War. That's a pretty big thing.
That's very big. So, I mean, obviously, you can see they're definitely trying to put together a top-notch studio that's going to produce top-notch games. And yeah, just looking at that list, I mean, shit, that was the big surprise right there. Was what Brian Westergaard. But yeah, just looking at that, and you got the writer of Red Dead Redemption and Middle-earth Shadow of War. Great games, both of those. So it's very positive. Looks good for the outcome of whatever this studio is going to be working on. Which, whether it's saying it's supposed to be like a narrative-based game, shit.
A lot of dev talk too, right? You got all that talk going around this week about the Obsidian possible buyout from Microsoft. We don't know for sure. At least, has anybody heard any confirmation on that, or is it still kind of we're not 100%?
I think it's still rumor. I haven't looked anything up into it within the last day or so after first hearing about it. But yeah, I think it's still rumor for now.
It's rumor. The guy who was posting about the guy in Reset Era who had leaked the information, he's kind of leaving some points out. All he said was that he found this letter of intent for them to be purchased, and apparently people from Obsidian had signed it, but not Microsoft. But then he was also saying that he wasn't sure about some things, and he held off a bit. So we just kind of need to wait and see on that front. So yeah.
Cyber says rumor. Well, it's a big rumor, and there seems like there's a little validity to it, and it wouldn't surprise me, but I mean, it is what it is. But anyway, I don't want to get too distracted and start talking about Obsidian, which, is a possibility. Let's talk about the things that are. Foxy, again, just weigh in on the Brian Westergaard and the rest of these acquisitions by the initiative that makes you a little bit more excited for their next game, right? Or their first
absolutely. Absolutely. Especially Westergaard. That's shocking, man, especially coming off of God of War. You figured, having a hit like that for Sony, they would try to get as many people on lockdown as they could. Nope. Lose them to Microsoft. I mean, that's a huge gain for them. They're putting together some serious firepower for the studio, man. It seems like whatever project they're going to be working on, they're going to hit it out of the park just with the talent alone. I'm still in shock that they got Westergaard though. That's crazy to me.
So you think it's a case of money then, right? That Microsoft is enticing these guys with some probably heavy-handed contracts.
Oh, I'm for certain. I mean, money talks, bullshit walks. That's the way of life. I'm sure they're waving hundreds of thousands of dollars in these guys' face. Say, hey, come work for us. We'll take care of you better. I mean, I'm not saying that Sony shortchanged Westergaard at all. I mean, God of War hit.
Yeah. Well, what a lot of people don't understand. What a lot of the regular public doesn't understand either, and I don't know how it is with them, but a lot of studios, for example, that Crackdown is being made by multiple studios, Sumo Digital, there's 2 or 3 other ones involved, how a lot of it works, and trust me, because I've talked to the guys at BioWare, not everybody on those teams is a permanent member of the teams. They basically piece their work out. So what they do is they bring in various talents from the industry, and they basically sign them to contracts for the duration of that project. When the project is more or less finished, and let's say the person, say the graphics engineer, he has no more work to do on the game. Now it's bug testing. They let those people go. Those people go out and they find other jobs, or they get snapped up by another company where they could potentially be a full-timer, or they basically jump from game to game. And that's how it is with some of the guys on Crackdown, because I know there's people out there going, oh, people from Crackdown are leaving. It's not necessarily that they're leaving. A lot of them, their work is done, so now they go on to other projects. So yeah, they've left Crackdown, but it doesn't mean they've left that company or they've left gaming. You know what I mean?
Well, right, yeah, and it's a lot of that's all contract based work. So, but it's still that's a hefty amount of money to be thrown around to these guys. You know what I mean? They've got obviously Microsoft is planning something big for this project, whatever they're bringing these people into the studio for.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be huge because they got a lot of big guns under their belt right now.
Absolutely. What's going on, Glitcher, man? Glad you could make it to the chat, bro, even though you couldn't host tonight. But I think Noof is doing a pretty good job of holding it down. And speaking of holding things down, let's hand it over to Invader. Vader, give us your take on Mr. Westergaard and the rest of the talent forming up with the initiative.
Well, to start off, before I touch on the initiative, the thing is that this joins a trend within Microsoft Studios. All their internal studios, they seem to be gathering and picking up key talent. I mean, look at Playground Games' second studio hiring. They are hiring from key talent from across big studios, like I remember Kojima Productions, Rockstar, and Ninja Theory. Well, before they bought Ninja Theory. But, they're on this hiring spree right now. And then you look at the initiative, it's a brand new studio, and they are laying down the foundations for, well, what's hoped to be an industry-leading studio. I mean, you don't just hire anybody. You look at this guy, Brian Westergaard, the lead producer of God of War, a Game of the Year candidate. And then you got Christian Catamesa, the writer of Red Dead Redemption and Middle-earth: Shadow of War. And, that's really impressive. That's, really talented people right there. And also Daniel Newberger, a co-director of the recent Tomb Raider games. Look, obviously Microsoft, they're headhunting for top industry talent, and they're looking to create the next big game for them, the next big game in their portfolio, a new pillar, if you will. And honestly, this reminds me of when they were starting to staff up for a new studio at the beginning of this gen, even before this gen. It reminds me of what Black Tusk Studios were supposed to be before Microsoft bought the Gears of War franchise. So, this is really interesting. They're doing some really, really interesting stuff here. And yeah, to me, they're laying down the foundations at the initiative to be a serious player in the industry.
They are indeed. They are indeed, guys. So good times ahead. I think there's some big stuff coming. The bottom line is, right, the way I look at it, the more studios you got, the bigger and better chance you're going to have of finding a successful game, a game that's going to come out and be another Gears of War, be a really big hit, right? That's how I look at it. And we're going to segue into another studio here right now that Microsoft just recently acquired called the Compulsion Games, who make We Happy Few. Now, I know some of you guys may have had a chance to play it out there. I'd love to hear from you in the chat if you guys have had a chance to play it and what your impression is of it so far. If you think it's pretty good or really good, give us a 1. If you think it's not so good or not worth the money, maybe hit a 2 in the chat. I'm going to find out what the panel thinks. I have not had a chance to play it. I was just touching on some of the reviews, and I've been looking at various sites. And so far, it's not exactly lighting the world on fire. It's kind of getting 70s, etc. IGN give it, I think it was a 73, which is not bad, which is actually a solid score. But we know how this works, right? Especially now that, Compulsion Games is a Microsoft-owned studio. Well, that just got magnified tenfold. Hey, Microsoft just hired another studio that can't build a good fucking game. So that's where shit's going to go. Tell me, you know it, right? I know it. You guys know it. So anyway, let's start with anyone on the panel who has perhaps played or bought this game. Let me know how it is. And Invader, I think you just posted a video, which I didn't have a chance to check out yet, right?
That is correct. Yeah, I have been playing We Happy Few. I am about 7-8 hours into it, so it's still pretty early on. And yeah, you know what? So far, I'm enjoying it. I had this game back in game preview going back, 2 years back when it originally, first appeared on the game preview program. And it is a very different beast to what it is now. Look, I'm enjoying it because the story, it seems very rich and compelling to me. Right now I'm playing you play as a couple of different characters throughout the game, but right now I'm still early on. I'm playing a guy named Arthur, and I'm just like checking stuff out and like looking for side quests and just checking out the nitty-gritty of what's going on. I'm just slowly just taking my time and trying to get a feel for the world. And my
Right.
gosh, I'm just really, really enjoying the world. Like, I love the 60s aesthetics, the color, and I just, I find myself looking around and just, I'm really enjoying myself. However, I will say this, that I've encountered quite a few quirks in the game, like stuff not loading up properly. I keep encountering the same like character models for NPCs. They'll have like the same face, same body, but they might just have like some minor differences, like hair color or clothing.
Right.
But so you see a lot of the same character models throughout the game,
Right.
and there's just some funny stuff
Right.
throughout the game. That, and there's some repetitive stuff, but
Right.
that's in any game. But honestly, though, to me, so far, like just 7, 8, 9 hours into the game, I am enjoying it, and the world is very cool.
Well, the funny thing is, though, the game has spent a long time in game preview, so for it sort of to be, kind of getting decent scores, but not better. Like, I don't know what, because I never played the game preview, so I don't know where they went back to the drawing board or what they tried to improve. I don't know if you played it through game preview, but I just want to catch up with the chat. Grain says it's a pretty good game, but it's not perfect. It has its problems. Shizno says, I think it's worth the whole $60. And Indie Gamer said, I think Compulsion is a great buy. We happy few shouts of a lot of potential, especially in world creation and storytelling. And while I haven't played the game and I can't really comment on it, guys, I will just say, if there's one kudos I can say to Microsoft in their acquisitions of studios and the games that they're getting, is that they seem to be going for a lot of diversity. There seem to be actually, like, sort of, I guess, supporting developers that aren't afraid necessarily to take a few risks and kind of go for it. You know what I mean? Because if you look at a lot of the games Microsoft has put out and is continuing to put out, there's a lot of variety between them. Whereas, like, you look at a lot of the Sony games, yes, a lot of them are getting great scores and they're good games, and I don't take nothing away from that. A lot of them look very much like carbon copies of each other. Third person action adventure horror, and it's like boom boom boom, almost everyone is the same. Like, you can't knock diversity. Mind you, this is a multi-plat game, guys, and for those who don't know, while Compulsion just got bought by Microsoft, this game fell under the old deal, so it still comes out for PlayStation as well. Future Compulsion games probably will not end up on PlayStation, I don't think, but yeah, lots of diversity. I think they're taking a big gamble. And I think the thing is, as long as they see potential in the developer, I think that's why Microsoft is putting money behind them. It's not about necessarily a track record, but where they think they can bring gaming in the future. But anyway, let's move over and let's get the Proto and give us your take, sir.
As far as We Happy Few, hearing it in the or seeing it in the topic list was the first time I had heard about it. So I started checking it out and started looking at certain things. And like Invader was saying, man, the world just looks pretty wild. I definitely want to get in and check it out now. I'd see maybe if I can track down like a demo or something if that's available, because it just seems interesting and the premise seems very interesting. But the fact that Microsoft acquired Compulsion, and now everything's becoming a big story because of the game releasing, and now Microsoft, acquiring the studio. That's pretty interesting because, like you had said, it's more middle of the road. I mean, there's solid reviews because every review I've checked out since this has now caught my attention. It seems to be about middle of the road, solid, nothing great, nothing, but it's not bad. I'm interested though. I'm really interested in looking at this one.
It has an interesting aesthetic. Some people have compared it similarly to BioShock in a way, and I guess to me, looking at the art style, it definitely reminds me of the sort of steampunk world, essentially, that they introduced in BioShock Infinite. Maybe not so much the first couple of BioShocks, but the Infinite one. It has a very similar feel. I'm not saying a lot alike, but something definitely reminds me of it. I don't know, maybe it's the way the characters have this sort of big-eyed, I don't know, semi kind of realism. It's hard to say.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking really kind of BioShock, Infinite, and that almost surreal kind of look in the premise. Because if I read it right, it was something in the premise like the world is almost like happy on its own until you start digging deeper, and then they start getting more aggressive towards you or something. Is that how that's supposed to work? And
Some of the
that's
stories, some of the stories are so out there. It is unbelievable. Like you're like, yeah, you'd almost think the devs were on drugs when they did this game.
I'm sold. I like the more off the wall kind of stuff anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to. Like I said, when I started digging in a little deeper before the show tonight, I'm like, man, why haven't I even heard of this yet? But then, these things happen. It slips on your radar and could be one of my favorite things. I'm definitely gonna track it down after the show tonight. I'll tell you that right now.
Shout out to Chaos Theory, who just popped in the chat. Welcome to the show, brother. Z Black Rider. He says it's only a 60-person team, too, which makes it all the more impressive. And So Shady, Mr. Fact Checker himself, just wanted to remind us it is published by Gearbox. So that is the reason why this game is a multiplayer. Well, let's hope that people get behind it and show the developers some love. It sounds like the game has tons of potential, and who knows, maybe it comes to Game Pass eventually. But I don't think it's not a full price game, but it's definitely up there in price. So get behind it. Let's get over and get Corpsey's take on We Happy Few, sir. Is it making you happy or sad? What's the deal?
I'm very interested in the game. I was my interest peaked when I first kind of saw it. When they first kind of showed it, I was like, wow, I like the art style of it. And then, of course, later on, then, word got around that, they started changing how the game was. And like Invader said, it's a different beast than what it is. I haven't seen too much of the videos of it so far that have been, released since the game's been released. But, yeah, I mean, that's a game I'll end up picking it up. I like that art style that, like Vader was saying, that, that kind of that 60s kind of look, kind of off the wall story kind of shit. I'm really dig that kind of stuff. So I'll be picking that up eventually. I don't know when, but sometime.
And there's no shooting in this. Is that correct, Invader? No guns, not killing anybody?
Not yet. Again, I'm still pretty early on. But no, there doesn't appear to be any shooting. There's lots of throwing. Like I've thrown like all kinds of like rocks and broken bottles at people for like distraction purposes. Lots of fisticuffs, with just brawling and what else? Just other, like clubs and bats and stuff. So a lot of melee combat focus. And otherwise, no, I have not encountered any guns. So
our Rob in the chat's like, no guns? What the
fuck? Don't need a gun to be enjoyable.
No, the game relies a lot on stealth, and that's where a lot of the old survival elements come into play. And crafting. Like the game relies a lot on crafting too, especially for making health items and food and whatnot too. Yeah. Scavenging.
So it seems like this is going to be. So it seems like it's a major time sink, then, isn't it? Not that I don't say that like it's a bad thing. Like you're going to lose yourself in it.
Hard to say. I think you can be a little more linear. Just there's all kinds of different side quests that you can do that you can just kind of fall upon throughout the world, throughout people that you encounter. So I think that you can get through it a lot quicker than how I'm playing it. I'm looking at every nook and cranny. I'm like, oh, what's over there? What's over there? Ooh, that's cool. Oh, I want to see that building. Oh, what's that graffiti over there? And so on.
Right. Yeah. And see, I'm the same way when I dig into games like that. Like a funny little side story. When I first picked up The Last Zelda, Breath of the Wild, when I found out that you could cook and could, come up with different meals, I wasted 2 hours just doing that, figuring out what every little thing did. So it's like, oh dear God!
What was that? What Cletus? What are you saying?
Well, here for the diddly guys, it's Cletus here, and I always say, look, if your video game ain't got big guns, then it got to have big buns, and if you got big buns, you also got to have some big old titties. There's nothing like a good set of big old titties in the video games. I like seeing lots of cleavage, and that's all I want to say about that. So make sure you get out there and support lots of video games that got big buns and titties if they ain't got guns. Okay, so that might mean a porno game. I don't know. Get your VR headset out and go at it, but yeah, that's all I want to say about that. You guys have a good night now. Here,
I agree with Cletus. Cletus is a man of intelligence and integrity.
Whoa, far out, Cletus, far out, man.
He must have the entire Leisure Suit Larry collection.
I think he's got them all. Cletus is popular in some necks of the woods. Apparently, True Racer is always happy to see him. All right, guys. So the reviews, like I said, they're fair for We Happy Few. I don't think it's anything to burn the world over, but good start for them. Hopefully, the game sells enough that maybe they come up with a sequel, or at least they take what they've learned from this game and can inspire it into a new IP, which is probably what is going to happen. I think they'll just move on and make something really cool and all that good stuff. So let's get into the next topic of the evening, unless someone has anything they want to add to the We Happy Few thing.
I don't know. I just want to say that so far it's a cool game. Like, just judging by my first couple of hours impressions, it's definitely a lot different. If you played it like early on in game preview, it's definitely a different beast than what it was. It's definitely more enjoyable. So definitely check it out if you have it, or just give it a look on a video. It's honestly, it's very interesting, guys.
Well, our next game we're going to talk about involves guns and 4K horse testicles. So we are chatting about Red Dead Redemption 2. Finally, after months of long-awaited, looks like Rockstar Games has finally popped out some trailers. The reaction so far has been mostly good, I think, for the most part. I actually think the game looks super impressive. IGN actually had this little thing on Twitter with a side-by-side running against the old game, and holy hell, it's blown my mind. I'm going to go on record and say, and this is a tough one, but I think Red Dead Redemption 2 so far has been the most impressive looking game this generation. Like, it is so good looking. I hope that the game really looks as good as the videos have shown so far. I'm led to believe yes, because apparently how good Grand Theft Auto 5 fucking looked way back when, and that's kind of an old game now. So this is the first Rockstar game fully developed on new hardware. I'm super excited for it. I love the original game. Just played it the other day, as a matter of fact, in a stream, and that game still holds up really well too, by the way. So yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2, guys, I'm impressed. My socks have already popped off on this one. Let's go over to Stinking Corpse. He seems like the perfect man to talk about Red Dead.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Watching the videos and shit on that, it looks so good. It made me so much more hyped, because there was talk for a while, because there was they talked about it, and then all of a sudden you didn't hear anything else about the game. Like, is it going to delay the game? Is there something wrong with the game? What's going on? Then all of a sudden they bring out this video, and it's like, holy shit. And then of course there's more videos to come, detailing more aspects of what you can do in the game. But shit, my socks were blown off, and they went across the street, and I got to probably get them, after this podcast, so I can have something to wear for work tomorrow. But yeah, it looks good.
Socks are overrated.
Moist sock.
Absolutely. That's right. When you run out of condoms, you just make sure you keep one of those around, right? She's gonna have a woolly vag tonight. That's the only thing I can tell her. Mind you, if you're a married man still using condoms, that's a little weird. But hey, sometimes people just like to stay safe in that story. People like to pop them kids out. But anyway, Corpse, more to add on that, man. Like, anything out of the trailer just really stood out to you at all? I mean, that you just kind of went, wow. I mean, it's an old Western trailer. It's not like they got giant spaceships coming down and shit like that.
Big ass explosion.
The thing I noticed compared to the other game, not the obvious of the graphics and the animation, but it's just that the towns themselves feel like they're fully realized towns where there's a lot going on. Whereas if you go back and play the original game, it feels like the world is literally barren. Like, there's a couple of people here and there, but this one really feels alive. And I think getting that. Oh, Jago's in the house. There we go. We're going to get to him in just a minute. Guys, Jago's in the house. That is good. Woo! Let's introduce him now while he's here. What is happening? Jago Kukin, thanks for dropping in, brother.
Oh, man. 15-hour day down, dude. I'm so tired. Siberia drink.
God damn. It's a good thing we were talking about the Red Dead Redemption, not We Happy, because you don't sound so happy at all.
Oh, well. Don't even get me started with We Happy Few. I'm going to be one of those guys. A game, if I see a game trailer or like, I'll say Anthem, you saw that, it gets you hyped. It's like I have to connect with a game to actually be hyped for it. And I was connected. Just seeing Anthem the very first time last year, I was like, holy shit. I've seen We Happy Few, and I don't know, man. I just don't get me started there. That's not my cup of tea, brother.
Well, don't worry, man. You wanted to talk about it because we've already passed that. That boat has sailed. You're in the house now. We're gonna hand it over. We're talking about Red Dead Redemption. We'll get to you in a second, but let's get over to. We're gonna go with Invader on the next one. Invader, what's your take on the Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer?
Well, first off, I would just like to say that I told your asses not to worry about it, and it looks fantastic. Honestly, like, I don't know where to begin. Yeah, the game, I was really impressed by the trailer, like everybody else. The world looks very interesting. It's a lot more developed than what it was before. I like there's just so many different facets to it. Like, for example, like the different interactions at the gang camp and stuff like that. You play cards there, and there's different interactions. Even if you're just like walking through like a forest, like you can see like the different wildlife. And even just stuff like the horses too, like different breeds of horses, they all have different traits from the sounds of it. Like there's all these little things that just make it add up to sound just really interesting and well built. And I still need to see some more gameplay. Like I didn't watch a lot of it, but I know it looks stunning. Like even if you're just like passing through a town or something, it just sounds like there's gonna be like lots of interactions with the NPCs that you're just not expecting. And everybody's going to have, like, I won't say a different experience, but, like, you're going to have some memorable ones at that.
Right. Well, I think the story, is self-standard. We know based on Rockstar's experience and what they did with the first game, that I think we can expect another, highly acclaimed campaign to keep us busy for hours and hours and hours. Apparently, I think the world itself is much larger than the first game as well, so that means probably a ton more missions. I guess the big question now for a lot of people is how the multiplayer is going to add up. We haven't really seen a lot of that yet, but we do know the original game had a lot of the right elements in place, but I think the original game's multiplayer came out at a time, too, where it was overshadowed by a lot of other games, and people really weren't expecting multiplayer in Red Dead Redemption to be any good, but it actually was a ton of fun. The whole, getting your posse and doing missions and stuff was really cool. Maybe a bit of ahead of its time at the time, but I think now the online landscape has changed, and based on the success of GTA 5, I think a lot of fans of Rockstar are expecting big things out of this one. But let's head over and let's get Mr. Peroto's take on this.
I was thoroughly impressed. Invader, yes, you did. You told us so. Told your asses. Told your horses' asses. And the whole thing is, I enjoyed the original Red Dead. I was never, I was never big on the whole Rockstar thing with the whole GTA thing. I always thought there was way too much hype with that. But Red Dead itself did enough things different and interestingly enough that it held me, and I was always interested in the sequel. And man, it looks like they're ready to knock it out of the park. Just like everybody else said, the world feels like it's more fully realized, and just the different things going on. It just it seems like this is the best step forward, the logical step forward, and almost if you're putting it further ahead in time for the sequel, it almost even makes sense that the world is a bit more fully developed and everything, does it not? Because of the whole Old West aesthetic anyway. The world's building up, So I'm impressed and can't wait to see more. It's definitely on my radar now.
Absolutely. Well, the difference between GTA 5 though and Red Dead Redemption 2, I mean, it's obvious. One is set in the modern day world, but it's a semi-realistic world, meaning like, the buildings look real and the cars and the people, but you do a lot of crazy ass shit. Like it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's kind of like the comedy hour. Whereas Red Dead Redemption really goes into deep lying stories that feel believable, and his characters are believable. And there's humor in Red Dead Redemption too, but it's not like, the humor that you get from the guys in Grand Theft Auto. So I think there have similarities, but there's a lot of differences, enough that really separate each game and make them stand on their own. They couldn't be any further apart. The old Wild West of the 1800s, and then the modern day era with cars and planes and all that shit. So
right. It's definitely not over the top at all. It definitely seems like Red Dead is more grounded, and I think that's what gravitates me to it a bit more.
Yeah. Rob brings up a good point in the chat, and I heard some people complain of not riding a horse for half an hour like the first game, and that was true. They need to have some quick travel things, although that takes it a little realism. Yeah, that was kind of annoying. You get some missions that were one on one side of the map, and then you have to go way the hell over the other side. And of course, on a freaking horse too, it's going to take you a lot longer, and there's not a lot to look at or do in the world. So hopefully they that they definitely fix that up, and I think they will. I'm sure they've addressed all of the complaints from the first game for sure. Let's get Mr. Jago, who joined the cast. Let's get him to weigh in Red Dead Redemption 2. Jago, were you a fan of the first game? Are you excited for this next one? It's got 4K horse testicles.
He got quiet.
Nice.
He's looking at the testicles.
I was on mute. I was on mute.
Testicles stopped him. He's just like going speechless.
I laughed when you said that, but I was like, damn it, I'm on mute. I was like, nobody heard me laugh because you made me laugh. I was like, that's funny.
One hair,
getting
two
moist.
hairs, 3 hairs. Oh, there's 5 hairs in the 4K testicle.
No, I've said this multiple times on multiple podcasts. I was one of those guys who rented it from GameFly because I'm not a huge fan of Westerns. Even though I grew up in the South, I know. I don't sound like a redneck. I didn't grow up, I grew up in the country, but I'm not a redneck. I wasn't a huge fan of Westerns. One of my favorite Westerns is Tombstone, though.
Nice.
It's one of my few favorite Western movies.
Val Kilmer, right? That one?
Val Kilmer. Kurt Russell's, what's his name? Sam Elliott.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yep. I rented it from GameFly. I've said it before. I rented GameFly, and I thought it was really good. It was a really good game, but there was so much other stuff to play because I'm a shooter guy. I guess you call me a dude bro shooter or something. I love other genres too. Like I was playing Onrush this weekend. I was playing The Walking Dead because if my old dad's like, you can play video games if you play something I want to watch. So I was playing Walking Dead because I like The Walking Dead, but I played it. It was a really good game. I thought the story was interesting, but I never actually finished it because there's just so many other games. But for its time, it was amazing. I mean, that game was great, and that's why everybody loves it to this day. But when I saw, and I've only had time because it's the past 3 weeks to a month. I told Steve, of course, my work situation has changed a lot. So for about a month, I haven't barely been able to do anything. But I watched that game trailer, when they put out, what was it, last week? Looked amazing, dude. Look at that. What bad can you say about it? I'm like, I will buy that game day one. I might have to get the $60 version. No, special editions or nothing like that. But man, I'm gonna beat Red Dead. Look at Red Dead 2. That looks so good. How can you be mad at that game? It looks really good, dude.
Like I said to Mooch and crap, I'm all in as long as they don't have fucking accessories where you can have like a pink horse and fucking fuzzy colored fucking guns and shit like that. Like, keep that crap out of the game.
I don't know, man. Pink horse, that would be pretty hysterical.
Yeah, put some
A pink horse.
As it's galloping, it goes, yes.
Hey. Not only can you make your own character, but you can customize your horse, have like the big balls dragging across the ground or something.
You're gonna be
Titus.
Red Dead 2. Well, you
I was
ride
about
your
to
own
say,
little My Little Pony.
give them give your horse a pink sack or something like that.
Yeah.
A fucking
Pink fuzzy sack.
the saddle's got a dildo on top of it.
Oh, don't give Primal any ideas.
Don't give Glitcher any ideas.
Yeah. Oh God.
Wet right now.
I will say this about the first Red Dead. It was a very immersive game. Like it really pulled you in to that world, and that's the only reason why I really like I said, I'm not a big like Western fan, but it really pulled you into that world. I was so invested in what was his name, James, or my God, it's been so long since I played it. The main character,
James Marsden.
James Marsden, yeah, man, it really pulled you in.
Yeah,
and it got you invested in him and the trials and the tribulations and everything he was dealing with. Mm-hmm. But I've still to this day never beat the game. I've never seen it. I saw the ending online. I don't think it's spoilers by now. He got killed. I was like, what?
Spoilers!
Spoiler.
Well, if you haven't, if you haven't seen the game on YouTube, or if you haven't beaten it by now, well, I can't.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Don't feel sorry for you. Yeah, like 10 years later. Oh, what? You ruined it.
Totally ruined it.
That'd be like
Damn you,
going,
Jago!
did you know that Darth Vader was Luke's father? Is that
I was just about to finish Empire 2, damn
I
it.
was just getting to that part. I had to pause it for the podcast.
Fuck.
somebody in the chat's like, what? You ruined Star Wars.
Hey, Anakin turns into Darth Vader. Spoiler!
God damn it.
Jesus.
God.
Everything tonight.
Man, oh man, awesome. Just one last thought on Red Dead. I mean, obviously the trailer has blown the entire panel away, which is interesting,
it's
right?
Amazing,
There's,
dude. Yeah, that looks so good, dude.
Yeah, there's like there's 5 of us on the panel right now. We're all impressed, right?
Yes.
Nobody's arguing that. So I want to know, there has been, again, you see this online again, if you've been paying attention to Twitter, there's like hate going around for Red Dead, and I don't get where it's coming. Now, I can understand if you said, I'm not really into that theme. I don't really care for the Western, so I will probably bypass it. But how can you say the game looks like shit? Like, are you literally blind? Are you still playing on a 720 TV or on a CRT television? Like, have you not got with the times? Are you still playing 360 games? Like, what's the deal? What's the deal, guys?
They're playing on black and white.
On a CRTV.
Noob, they're on a black and white TV. That's what it is.
Yeah. Or just not playing games.
Yeah, this Western's not authentic if it's not black and white, and people are like,
if you weren't, what pisses me off, I try not to get, and like I said, I haven't been able to like get on social media and be on Twitter. I think you guys have noticed that I'm not as been as active as I usually am because, like I said, my job situation has changed. But it doesn't matter if you're a PlayStation or an Xbox fan. I'm both. I've always been both. I used to be like Nintendo too until they kind of disappointed me, and I grew up with Nintendo, but Nintendo didn't grow up with me, and that's how I feel. But how can you say Red Dead 2 from what they released last week looks like shit? Are you kidding me? No, man, you're blind. You must be blind. I mean, that's the only thing I don't think I can say.
My jaw was on the floor of the trailer. The animations of that were just nuts. Horses move. When you look at the background, you see those like the mountains and stuff, and the way the grass and the trees, and just how fluid the whole game just looked. I think if you pan that screen out, you don't know if you're looking at a game anymore. It was that realistic.
Put that game on the next gen console, and it'd be almost like watching a freaking movie, like an actual movie. Yeah. I mean, it looked that good. To me, it did.
Anybody else with a take on the hate? Like anybody else got a reason why you think there's some fans that are going out of their way to kind of hate on this?
Yeah,
because it's popular to hate anything.
That and a lot of people. There's people out there that just like to complain. No matter what, they just want to be out there talking shit. Well, if you don't like the way it looks, well, won't you? And you think you can make it better? Won't you try to get a job there and make it look the way you think it should look? I think it looks great.
The funny thing about the majority of them people, those will be the people that'll be waiting for the midnight release at 11:30, in a line.
Yeah.
That'll be praising the game up and down once it.
I guarantee you guys, if it was exclusive to PlayStation, you wouldn't hear half the hate that you're hearing for it right now.
No. Well, I hate to say it. I mean, I don't always, and it comes back, and I hate when I got to say it, but I got to say it, and that is, there are some salty people out there, and we're going to get into another topic in a minute, which kind of is part and parcel with this one. But there's some salty people out there that just don't want to admit the game looks good because they know that they don't have an Xbox One X, and that is where it will look the best. That is bottom line. It will look good on everything, but it will look best on the X, and that is a hands down. I don't even know yet. Rockstar says they're running it at 4K. I don't know what the frame rate is, but they're saying they're running it in 4K on the PS4 Pro. Now, look, if Rockstar runs that at 4K on the PS4 Pro, it means one of two things. Either they are an amazing developer that knows how to push hardware to the limits, which wouldn't surprise me, or other developers haven't been pushing hardware much at all. That is one of those two things, because if they can get a game like that, an open world at native 4K on the Pro, then there should be a lot of other games, not only on the Pro, but on the X that skimped out that should be a lot better looking than they are. So it's one of those two things. It's,
maybe a little bit of both.
I was going to say that. I think it's a mix of both, New.
Yeah.
Honestly.
You know, I mean, I think the Pro is capable more. I think even the Pro is more capable of doing things that it hasn't done, and I damn well think the X could also push the envelope as well. I don't know how much of that is tied back to the fact that they're trying to make those games and make sure that they still run adequately on the older hardware, which doesn't have only a fraction of the power. You know, you still have to wonder how much of that is taken into account. But you know, like I said, if Rockstar can pull this thing off at 4K, native 4K, I mean, even if it's dynamic 4K on the PlayStation 4 Pro with Red Dead, that's still pretty impressive. So, you know, Spider-Man's saying 1440p on the Pro, but I haven't seen this confirmed. I'm hearing various reports, and I mean, I'm sure we'll find out more. And at the end of the day, and I'm sure I speak for the whole panel, who really gives a shit? It's going to be a good game. Get out there and buy the fucking thing. Bottom line. Yes, I'm going to buy it for my ex, but if I had, you know, but bottom line is just fucking buy the game if you want it.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, there's no reason to judge it like this. It's Rockstar. You know that you're gonna get a lot of content, so the game's gonna look really good. Yep. And like, honestly, just use your eyes, use your intuition. Like, no, like I'm not like you don't have to be a fan of westerns or anything like that, but I mean, you can tell that you know you're probably gonna have an immersive experience, whether it's your cup of tea or not, but it's gonna be something. And I think that's something we can all agree on. And even if you're a hater, it's like, okay, that's not my cup of tea, but, you know, I could see why people would be excited about this. You know, people just want to rain on the parade.
Well, you got to think about this too, Invader. If it looks this good in a trailer and hasn't even dropped yet, it's going to drop. And then Rockstar is going to, because we get them all the time, we get patches. It's going to look even better a month, or 2 months, 3 months, you know, because they're going to do tweaking. You know, they're going to tweak the game. To make it look as good as it can, and it looks this good already in the trailer they showed us last week. I mean, Rockstar is not going to like lay on just lay around and not do anything. They're going to make and tweak and tweak code and everything. I mean, they're going to make it look even better as much as they can.
Well, Jago, look at the generational leap between the first game and the second game. Like, it is
I was going to say that earlier. It looks like way better than the first one. And the first one was amazing for its time.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like night and day.
Yeah. There's really no reason to hate it. You either want the game or you don't, but that should be pretty much where it ends. You don't need to write a fucking article on why Red Dead Redemption sucks, because it's going to be an amazing game, and it's going to be an amazing game whether it's 720 or 900 or 1080 or 4K, whatever the fuck this thing runs at. It's going to be a good game. I think as long as they can get a good solid frame rate here, but the story is magnificent, which it will be, it's going to be a good game, and that's all you guys really need to know.
The first story was amazing. Like I said before, I'd never finished it because of whatever game maybe Halo Reach, I think at the time. I was playing other games and I had rented it from GameFly and I had to send it back.
Yeah. I just hope that the HDR is really good. That's the thing, because HDR, I think is, to me personally, good HDR, and I say that very not loosely. Good HDR makes the game look amazing. There's some bad implementation out there of HDR, and it makes the games look pretty bad too. Case in point, I'm going to say Monster Hunter HDR, not good. I am not impressed. But then you got games like Sea of Thieves where HDR pops.
It's amazing. Sea of Thieves is amazing.
You know, Ghost Recon Wall is amazing. HDR pops. There's various games where HDR is implemented well. There's some that not so well. And I don't know the reasoning behind it, but whatever. I'm not going to get into a whole HDR fucking text thing here. But let's talk about hate. Speaking of keeping the train rolling, hate train rolling here, boys. Choo-choo, 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 choo. This is the one that really irks my bones, grinds my gears, as they say, and probably because, look, I make no bones about it. I'm a big Tomb Raider fan.
Me too, brother.
Especially this gen. Like, I'm not going to say I'm a big old Tomb Raider fan, because to be honest with you, I didn't really care for much of the old PlayStation era games and those games. They were kind of clunky and very antique to me. When I started turning around for Tomb Raider was when Crystal Dynamics jumped on board from Core, and they made the original. It was called Tomb Raider Legend. I don't know if you guys remember that on the 360, and they basically gave it a new coat of paint. fully realized analog controls, and the shooting mechanics were much better. And I said, now this is the kind of Tomb Raider I wanted to play. That's when I started falling in love with Tomb Raider. And of course, when they did the reboot in Crystal Dynamics in 2013 for the 360 and the PS3, that blew my mind. That was my game of the year that year. And Rise of the Tomb Raider was my game of the year. I think it was in 2015, 2016, whatever the hell. 2015, I think, is when that came out. If
2015, no, 2015.
So I'm a huge Tomb Raider fan. I've been following the new one, and while it isn't 100% made by Crystal Dynamics, you guys who don't know, this one's being developed by Eidos Montreal. But Crystal Dynamics is in conjunction, which means they have staff who are helping make sure the transition or that team lives up to the pedigree set by the first two. And based on the videos and the footage I have seen, and you guys may disagree with me, this game looks as good, if not better, than the previous two. It looks like it's going to blow my mind. And people out there have literally said, even in some of my tweets to me, this game doesn't look as good as the original game back on the 360. This game looks terrible. This game is another boring Tomb Raider. This game, blah, blah, blah. Like, I have seen arguments, and it's crazy. And I'm like, where is this hate coming from? Why do people all of a sudden hate Tomb Raider so much? Give us your take on this, guys. Why do you think this game is getting a backlash? Do you think it's just because it's coming out a week later than Spider-Man, and people are afraid that Tomb Raider just might steal a little bit of that thunder? What's your take? And I'll start right off with you here, Jago.
Honestly, I honestly think that Tomb Raider is getting the hate it's getting, and this is just me. This is my opinion. I think Tomb Raider is getting the hate it's getting because there's no Uncharted to challenge it. There's no Uncharted to compare it to. So people they're gonna hate on it because Uncharted and Tomb Raider were very similar. They were very similar. And I'm gonna say one thing about what you were saying about the original Tomb Raider. I like the original Tomb Raider, but I agree with you. I played multiple games back in the day, but they started riding Lara Croft. They put her up, and they rode her hard and put her up wet. So I actually stopped, playing the Tomb Raider games back in the day because I got tired of them. But I actually think that might be there's no PlayStation equivalent to compare that to, because even back before when the Uncharted 4 came out, you could PlayStation fans, and I am a PlayStation fan. I played that, and I played the 2013 and the 2015. Uncharted was always better. It's always better. It's always better. It's always better. Uncharted, it was an amazing franchise. I'm not taking anything away from it, but I think a little bit of hate is because it's coming from a lot of salty Sony only fans that there's no Uncharted for them, and they're so salty about it because they're so stubborn. They're not going to buy an Xbox. They want to just hate on it, just to hate on it. And if they're doing that, you're ignorant. You're ignorant. Tomb Raider is so good. Go and play 2013. Go and play the 2015 version of it. It's so good. It's such a good franchise now. I was so happy. Yeah. I'm with you, Noof. 2013's Tomb Raider was so close to being my game of the year, and that's the only thing I can really think of. Why it's getting hate, or it's just stupid fanboys that are so stuck on the Uncharted train or something similar to that they just want to hate on Tomb Raider. I don't know. I mean, it blows my mind because Tomb Raider is such a good franchise. It always was back in the day. They just did way too many. They milked it to death.
At least the comparisons to Uncharted are somewhat warranted because you have an adventurer who's in the jungles, who does puzzles, and both games have borrowed ideas from each other.
Yes.
Whether you want to admit it or not, they both have borrowed certain aspects over the years. But Lara is the original fucking jungle explorer, and you can't forget that. So bottom line. But then I've heard people say, it's just another Tomb Raider. Well, what was wrong with the last two Tomb Raiders? They were amazing. Were they very similar? Sure they were. But if it's not broke, why fix it? Why destroy the formula if it's working well? These games are all part of the one story. That's why they're they're tying in. It's not like each Tomb Raider is a different game than the last one before, unlike the old Tomb Raider games, which had nothing to do with the prior one to it. So it makes sense. But then again, how can you then ditch on Tomb Raider, but then you went out and bought Uncharted 4, and some people went out and bought Uncharted, what was it, The Lost Legacy, which was exactly the same fucking game, only it had the two girls instead of Nathan Drake. So that was the same game, but it was more of it. Only, yes, it was more of an expansion. But you see my point? Anyway, I'm going to hand over to the panel. Let's go over to Invader. Invader, what do you think about all this fucking internet hate, especially for one of the I think what should be one of the most renowned and revered franchises this year?
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I'm just kind of shaking my head at like all the comments that I've been seeing about it. They're really unwarranted. It's just kind of made up hate, you know? Like I don't understand where it's coming from. This is a storied franchise, and you look at the recent you know, going back to the recent reboot of the franchise in 2013, I loved it. I really enjoyed that game. And then you go to the 2015 game, Rise of the Tomb Raider, it just kicked it up a notch. No complaints, and everybody seemed to like the game. I mean,
game's beautiful, man.
Yeah, exactly. And although some people, they didn't like that they had to wait a year for the because Xbox had it for a year of exclusivity. But no, I'm just saying though, there's no reason to hate the game. Just like it just seems like a made up hate to me. I mean, I know that there's been strong ties to the Xbox brand in recent years because of marketing and so on, but honestly, to me, it just comes down to insecurities.
Yeah, well, I had one dude say that to me. One dude replied on my thing. He said, he's like, "No, if you only like Tomb Raider because Microsoft had the exclusivity deal on it." How asinine and stupid was that statement? Like this, if anybody knows me, you'll know that I've been fucking supporting that game as much, if not as anybody out there. Right from 2013 onwards. I bought it. I bought the original game on my 360. I bought it on my fucking PS3. Then I went and bought it, the definitive edition, on my freaking Xbox One. Like, how much more Tomb Raider love do I have to show, right?
I bought the 360 2013 Tomb Raider on the 360. Then I bought the definitive edition on my Xbox One. Then I bought the 2015 Tomb Raider day one on the Xbox. I mean, it was that good.
Invader, do you think it might also have to do with did we lose? Okay. Do you also think it might have a little bit to do with the fact that one of the lead developer, I think, came out and sort of made an insult towards The Last of Us and the animation during E3, and maybe some fans are salty because they took that as a big jab? Do you think that possibly plays a part in it?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, I remember those comments. Yeah, you know what? I think that plays into it a lot, from the vocal minority with their insecurities about, people, just these developers commenting about, what was it, like something about like Naughty Dog stealing like animations or something like that, if I recall.
Yeah, that it was impossible or something, that their animations were made up or some fucking shit. I don't know.
Some weird stuff like that. Yeah, no, it probably goes hand in hand with that, and just maybe even too with I'd hate to say it because the game looks pretty good to me and it doesn't need the hate, but you look at Spider-Man 2, it's around like within a week of each other or something like that. They're released.
That's right.
So I would imagine the console warriors on the PlayStation side might be championing that in some respects, but that's just a small minority of them. But they're always vocal.
Like Tryhard said in the chat, Tryhard is an advocate for PlayStation. He loves the PlayStation, but even he said in the chat he doesn't get it because if you have a PlayStation, you can buy both of those fucking games. So and day one too, by the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's win-win, honestly. Like, I don't understand the hate. Like, to me, again, it's just a very small but vocal minority that are just complaining just because for the sake of it. Like, the game doesn't need any hate. To me, it looks fantastic. I mean, it's a step up from the last game too, and you look at it, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's in such an interesting setting. There's all kinds of possibilities that are coming through my head with what you can do in the game. Like,
Did you guys notice? I don't know if you watched one of the videos, but they actually have a thing. Apparently, this game has way more actual tombs and puzzles. That, yes, God forbid, Spider-Man's already laughing, noof and puzzles. But yeah, this game has way more tombs and puzzles, I guess, than ever before. And but one of the things in the settings, if you guys didn't notice, is that you can now change individual of the combat. You can change the individual, I think, of the stealth and of the puzzles and how difficult you want each aspect to be. So you could literally have the puzzles be hard. You could have combat be easy. So you can adjust. That is really neat, like individual settings within the game, not just the whole game difficulty. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a really neat feature. You know, that's something that I would never think of myself. So that's a pretty cool thing that the developers have done. You know, just for to mix up the difficulties. You know, some people aren't as comfortable with puzzles as some others, so you know that's a nice little addition.
Absolutely. Foxy Proto, go ahead, man. Take it away. What's your take on the hate? I know you're, like I said, you primarily have a PlayStation. You've probably been a long-time Tomb Raider fan. Give us your take.
Actually, believe it or not, I wasn't a long-time Tomb Raider fan. I never got into the series.
What?
It was always for serious, bro. For serious. It was just always too clunky for me. I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean,
are you talking about the old school franchises?
Yeah, because to be honest with you, I haven't even gotten around to checking out the new ones. Glitcher keeps telling me the newer ones are good, and I'm like, whenever I get a chance, kind of thing.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're right on the original Tomb Raiders. Back in the day, and they had made 1 million of them. Like I said, they rode the place. They rode Laura hard and put her at wet. They did, and that's why I got tired of. That's why I got tired of the franchise. But the new ones are so much better.
Well, then I'll have to go back and give them a look. But the whole thing about the hate behind it, it's ridiculous. The game hasn't even been released yet.
No,
you know what I mean. But you're going to get all these keyboard warriors that are going to sit there in front of their screens.
Warriors.
Exactly. And they're just going to hate just to hate. They'll hate on anything. You know, you'll have, and again, you talked, Jago, you talked about Nintendo not growing up with you, but I still have, I still hold some of those franchises very near and dear to my heart.
Oh, I do too. No, don't take that the wrong way. I do.
Oh, no. I get that. But the whole thing is like, you'll have assholes get online and say, oh, Zelda the Breath of the Wild sucks. And, oh, Super Mario Odyssey is a terrible game. It's like, are you people high?
Hey, fucking Mario Kart's one of the terriblest games ever made. I'm like, get out of here. Mario Kart's awesome.
You have people that do that, and they hate just to hate. And there's just something, and I don't want to psychoanalyze anything, but there's just something fundamentally wrong with somebody who has to go out and find something that is so big and so popular and that so many people find joy in, and turn around and say, oh, that's the worst thing ever.
Donkey Kong Country was not a groundbreaking game. How about that?
Oh, Jesus Christ. You and I are fighting now, Jago.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But no, I mean, seriously, that's what it boils down to, is that these people, it's either that or they can't find joy in anything. They're the hipster crowd of video games, where they got to wear the tight tucked in flannels with the tight, leg hugging pants and drink their craft beers with their perfectly trimmed beards
and their thongs that are too tight.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's just like, you gotta hate. There's no point to it. If people enjoy something, who cares what you think at that point? I mean, you state your opinion, you move on. I'm the same way. It's like, okay, just like I said at the start of this, I was not a Tomb Raider fan. It wasn't my bag, it wasn't like I ran around and all of a sudden told everybody out there who enjoyed it, saying, hey, you're wrong. You should cease to exist. Stop breathing and go die somewhere because you like Tomb Raider. I mean, really, what's the point of that?
And I just wanted to point out, look, many of us, and probably even some of us on this panel, God knows I'm not perfect, have maybe said things about various games in the past. But here's the difference. Like when I say I don't like a game or troll, like for me, for example, I don't really care to play Fortnite, but I don't know if I've ever said Fortnite was trash or, it was a bad game. It's just not my kind of game. And the other difference between most of us is we can have our opinions, but we don't go over to say, somebody's channel or go into their Twitter feed to like like I could have a totally unrelated tweet to anything, and then I'll always get this little asshat who jumps in and it's got to come make sure he gets his 2 cents worth in and go, Anuf, I think you're wrong. Place Tomb Raider's a piece of fucking trash, you know, and he can't really give you evidence. He's just going to say something stupid, right?
Right.
And then you're just like, oh god, like that's the difference between people with an opinion and then people that have, it's just verbal diarrhea. Like their opinion doesn't even count for shit because their opinions are so fucking stupid. You can't even take their opinion for a grain of salt. Do you know what I mean? There's 2 different types of fans. There's some people that like give you an opinion, but they can back it up or have some sense of fucking dignity. And then there's just other people that just seem to just enjoy this vitriol hate and they spit it out without even thinking. You know what I mean?
So absolutely. The only time I ever get that way is when Glitch and I are going back and forth for his love of Assassin's Creed, because those games aren't my bag either. But I'll tear him down every damn time he wants to play. Dude, you should check the new one out. Nope. Go die in a fire.
Well, we're gonna get ready to wrap the show soon, but we can't do it without making sure Stinking Corp gives the 2 cents in on this. Corpsey, I know you seem to love the Tomb Raider fans. We talked about this off the air as well. So, you know, how do you look at the whole situation? What do you think is driving this vitriol towards this game?
I think some people just want to hold the grudge because of the timed exclusive thing that Xbox once had. Yeah, Proto, the old. I mean, I could. There's times I fire up my Sega Saturn and try to play the original Tomb Raider, and it's clunky as hell. But like Noof said, you know, when they came out with the Legends on the 360 and PS3 or whatever, they changed it. So definitely take a look at the newer ones. And you change your mind. Yeah, it's just like I go back to the Red Dead Redemption thing. There's people that just want to hate. And they want to just start arguments, or they just want to talk trash. And I mean, if you don't think the game looks good, don't buy it. I mean, don't try to impose your opinion to try to make, you know, just because you don't like it, you don't need, like Noof was saying, you know, you don't need to go around trying to impose your opinion and make everyone else think the same way that you do. I think it looks great. I'm buying it. So fuck him.
There it is.
Corpse firing up his abacus to play the new Tomb Raider.
Corpse.
I will. I'll make a video fucking of that.
You know why they become Stinking Corpse? He's hard up and straight to the point. There's no jambalaya with this guy goes.
I thought it all had to do with him cracking open cold ones.
No, and it was that too.
Corpse is probably like this because most of these fucking podcasts, you guys leave me till last, so I've had 30 minutes to sit here and think about my fucking answer.
Yeah, and then I just tell it to you real quick in one minute.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm going to start with you this time, Corpsey. Our final topic of the night. Just wanted to get your take. I mean, first of all, congratulations to PlayStation. Over 500 million PlayStation sold. I'm not sure if that number includes like the Vitas or the PSPs, but it just says 500 million PlayStations. And some people actually thought that was 500 million PS4s. I'm like, wow, that was a pretty big jump in a week from 80 million or whatever to like 500. But some people will believe that shit, believe it or not, because that's the kind of idiots we got in the fucking. But congratulations to Sony. Congratulations to PlayStation on that huge, momentous moment. I think almost everybody on the panel has at least bought several PlayStations at least one point in life. So we've all contributed to that number. See, we're not PlayStation haters. I've had a PS2, PS3, multiple PS3s, multiple PS2s,
multiple
three PS4s, plus the PSVR. But yeah, people call us haters. Go figure that. We spent more money on PlayStation than some guys who actually call themselves fans. Go figure that one out. But yeah, let's congratulations to those guys. I don't know if you guys seen it, but they're coming out with a special very limited edition PS4 Pro. It's transparent. It's got like a really cool looking blue, but you can see through the unit. It's got some really golden casing on it. It's got like a little steel tag down in the corner with numbers on it that tell you which one in the lot that you got. Apparently some guys are scalping this already. They've got them up on like fucking eBay for crazy numbers, which is really sad. I fucking hate people that do that. You just take advantage of like real fans to make money. But anyway, let's get your take on it. I'll start with Stinking Corpse. What do you think of that limited edition console? Do you like it? Do you think it's a winner? Could you care less? What's the deal, dude?
I mean, be a big congrats to PlayStation for that. I think it does include everything in the PlayStation line and in the numbers. I could be wrong. When I first saw it, I wouldn't. They said it was transparent. You couldn't really tell at first, and I watched some other videos. I kind of like the look of it a little bit more and more now, but I don't know. See-through stuff was kind of a thing, during the like OG Xbox and Nintendo 64. I think did some stuff like that. Me personally, I'm not gonna. I won't be buying it. But there's some cool aspects to it, I guess. Being the limited edition, I do like it. It tells you the lot or the number out of the 50,000, and I even saw a video where someone was saying, here's the numbers to look out for are going to be the ones that correspond to the release dates of certain PS consoles. That those are the ones that may, and over time, kind of bring money if you try to sell it later on. I don't know. I need to see some more of it. It looks cool, but yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of, the people that like were really excited about it, that's awesome. Go ahead and, buy it, whatever. I just wish that, cause now they're saying that, sold separately, they're going to have the headphones and this and that, I think you should just go out with a bang and just include everything. I mean, they got the camera in there. Why don't you just go ahead and throw in a decent, headset in there, and that headset that they're coming out with, instead of putting those earbuds in there. And I think even the earbuds are like actually not the actual single mono one. I think they've actually got some stereo ones that they're throwing in there. But yeah, overall, I think it's cool. I like that they're celebrating that, that number.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's super fantastic. And like I said, before, congrats on fucking selling that many consoles. That's awesome.
Well, I think if you don't have a PS4 Pro yet, that might be a pretty cool one to get. Very big collector's edition. And for those of you who don't know, this one's $100 more than the standard model PS4. It comes with a blue camera, so you get a camera inside the box as well. But I think that's pretty much it. It's just a camera, and but the box itself. I don't know if you guys seen the unboxing by PlayStation, but this is pretty neat. The actual box is not like traditional cardboard like it normally is. Their actual box is like made of that like polyethylene, like that plastic, and it's actually see-through itself, so you can see the console inside of the box, which is kind of neat. But I'm not a big fan of transparent shit, so like that's the only reason it gets a no from me. Otherwise, it's nice. But let's hand it over and let's get Invader's take on this one.
I've often been critical and vocal of Sony this generation of not delivering on good-looking themed consoles, and recently, I think they've been doing a really good job at getting back into it. And when I first saw this, I thought, man, that's a really sharp looking console. And I'm not even huge on translucent consoles, but I do think that this one looks pretty clean cut. I genuinely love the shade of blues with the gold accents, as you guys were saying. Otherwise, the controller, it looks fine, albeit maybe a little bit plain, but I like the blue. Same with the camera, though I'm kind of scratching my head as to the inclusion of the camera. Like Corpse was saying, I kind of wish that they threw in like a headset or something, but whatever. And of course, you got like a vertical stand. So I'm a big fan of the console that they showed off, and and also that's 2 terabyte hard drive, which is I like having more hard drive. That's a good thing. More space for games, of course. The only thing that really sucks to me is the price. Like honestly, at like $640 Canadian. Oh man, that
holy crap! You serious? Wow. Yeah, you get a hooker cheaper than that.
Yeah, no, it's expensive, dude.
Yeah, hooker with panties is cheaper than that.
No, it's expensive. Like you're talking about a very premium console, and you're paying a very premium price. Like aside from the price, I think that it's an awesome console. I think it's a really cool thing that Sony and PlayStation are doing. It's just, well, here anyways in Canada, the price is pretty outrageous. But
that's crazy, man.
No, it's good. It's definitely to me, it's a step in the right direction for their consoles. I liked what they were doing with Spider-Man, and for this to commemorate like 500 million PlayStations being sold, like in the lifetime of the brand, it's cool. I like it. The translucent, I kind of give or take on that. I keep going back and forth, but otherwise, I think it's a pretty sharp console.
Yeah. All right, let's get Mr. Proto Foxy's take on this console.
I'm gonna agree with the panel. I mean, it's definitely a cool thing. I watched the unboxing video. I saw the pictures of it. I mean, I I'm kind of with everybody. Like translucent is cool if it's done correctly, but a lot of times, often it isn't done correctly. And on consoles, yeah, we kind of surpassed that in the '90s, didn't we? With like the N64 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely cool. It looks like it was done very tastefully. It's definitely a very nice shade of blue. It's that deeper blue, so it doesn't look like it's so artificial and almost toy-like. When you think of translucent plastic, you think of a lot of action
Bright
figures
colors.
and stuff and collectibles and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think of the
like
I
that.
think of the '90s house phones we had back in the
Oh,
day.
that too. Yeah, that too for sure. But and with the gold accents, it looks cool. The camera, again, I'm with everybody. I'm shaking, scratching my head like, why? But okay, sure. 2 terabyte hard drive is definitely a good inclusion. I mean, am I gonna go run out and get one? No, I have a PS4 already, and it doesn't fit with my aesthetic here that I have in the living room. I got all my PlayStation consoles in black, and that's the way they need to be. And then the shelf above it with the other consoles is a mix of black and gray. Deep blue translucent wouldn't fit with that. That's just me and OCD there. It would stick out like a sore thumb. Cool conversational piece. I don't
Yeah.
think cool conversational piece is worth that hefty price tag, but
No.
good for them. I mean, again, you're celebrating 500 million units sold over the lifetime of PlayStation. That's incredible. And especially for Sony jumping into the game. Anybody who knows the backstory of Sony and how they got into creating the PlayStation, that's damn impressive. Considering where it came from. So, kudos to them. It's definitely a cool conversational piece. Will I run out and get one? No. I've got my PS4, and I'm a basic bitch when it comes to that. I got to have all my Sony stuff in black.
Yep.
All right, Jago, take her away, man. Give us your 2 cents.
Mine's gonna be really short and sweet. My OG PS4 works. It ain't.
Mhm.
You ever heard that old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And mine works fine with my PlayStation VR, and I could give 2 shits about that translucent console.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time I see translucent stuff, Jago reminds me of like a lot of those shitty ass controllers that came out for like the N64 and the PlayStation 2 back in the day, like where everybody and their fucking dog was making like an accessory, and they all went with this damn see-through, and it's just like, eh.
Yeah, the rock candy ones.
Well, like I said, it reminded me of the translucent clear like house phones we used to have back in the day. You could it was like a novelty thing. You're like, no, I'm good. Well, no, you can get a house phone that lights up, but it's clear. You can see the inner workings. You can see the chip set and whatever the hell making the phone work inside. No, I'm good, man. I'm good. My OG PS4 works fine. I don't need another one. I'm not in the market. I didn't buy a PS4 Pro because my VR works fine on it. My OG PS4 bought it day one. I mean, I don't need it, and that's in my opinion, that's a waste of money. I mean, I'm glad Sony's reached that milestone, and you want to give back to the fans. I guess you could call that.
Xbox Social said Mad Cats. Yeah, they made everything see through those guys.
Yep, Mad Cats. Yep, back in the day. Yep.
Mr. Kima, what's happening, man? Thanks for stopping by, checking out the stream. Great Skull Zero says OG Xbox had a green translucent one. Yes, they did. They actually had a white one as well. Yep. I think there was even more than that. Yep. Personally, I didn't like those either. Even though I'm an Xbox fan, I never owned either one, and I really didn't like them. I know lots of guys did have them. Some people love that stuff, and that's cool, but it wasn't for me, so I never did buy them either.
Nope.
I got one.
Which one you got?
I got the white one. I was in a bundle with Crimson Skies and Fable, so a pretty decent bundle.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, no, well, I mean, special edition bundles they're big things to some people and not to others. I kind of like the Spider-Man one. I think it was like pretty much sold out, but
I honestly, I don't want clear for special edition. I do not want clear. Like I bought the Gears of War 4 Xbox One S. Now that was something special. I had to have that one. I still got it.
Gotcha.
Like the Star Wars, and people, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm more of a Star Trek fan. I get hate for that, I'm sure, but I actually bought the Xbox 360 Star Wars. Well, it came with the C-3PO Gold controller and the R2D2 Xbox 360 console. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was an awesome special edition.
The only thing that I really like that's see-through tends to be lingerie or something like that. And if a girl has underwear on that didn't start out as being see-through and they're see-through after, and I think they need to go in the garbage. And that person
Underwear is overrated. It's all coming off anyway.
I'm more about the candy underwear anyway. You could just eat it all.
That's when it becomes funderwear.
Yeah, Cletus buys like the thick white Fruit of the Looms there, and like after like 10 years, he changed them out. You can see through those too. It's not a pretty sight.
Yeah, but that's a whole different reason why you can see through it.
Oh God!
All right. Anybody else have anything to add on this? Again, thanks everybody. Relevant. What's going on, bro? Crispy Bomb. What's happened to Idle Swap? Anybody I didn't shout out yet? Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. This brings us to the end of the pod. Anybody on the panel have any final things you want to say before we do our outros?
I just want to give a shout out to Cyber Gunter, man. I played with him last Wednesday. He's an awesome guy. He's an awesome guy. First time I played with him, he's an awesome guy. And everybody in the chat, you know, I was late to the show because like a 15-hour day, but everybody who takes their time out of their day to watch this podcast, I mean, come on.
Amen to that. Speaking of this podcast, guys, as I said, most of you probably know by now, and for those who don't, we are running a contest, well, essentially a contest, a giveaway, where if we ever hit 300 live viewers in podcast, we are going to give away a console. It will be of your choice. So once the winner, wins, we haven't even decided how we'll pick a winner yet. But we need to get the 300 people here first, but it will be something cool for sure and fair to everybody. And if we can find out who that one idiot is to give us a thumbs down, well, we're going to omit him from the draw altogether. That guy needs to go.
Exactly.
Just kidding.
Neener.
Thanks for everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Thanks you for liking and subscribing to my channel. I'm hosting it this week because Glitcher couldn't. So kudos there. Hopefully I did a pretty good job. The panel was awesome as always, but let's get to some of those awesome outros. And I am going to start with Mr. Glitcher's brother, Mr. Photo Proxy or Foxy Pro.
You'll get it right one of these days, Noob, I swear.
You do it different on different sides, right?
Yeah, because it's funny because of the way the Twitter name came across that put the end of it first. But anywho, Proto Foxy on Twitter, it's going to be Foxy Proto. You can hit me up on the PlayStation Network under Happy Emo Puncher. You can hit me up on Steam as Wicked Lance. Otherwise, I'm also on YouTube as Proto Foxy. Just come over, say hello. Make fun of Glitcher because that's what I tend to do most of the time anyway.
Everyone does.
Who doesn't, honestly? Other than that, did we hit the 300 mark? Did we hit the 300 mark?
No.
You all need to do the thing. I want a free counsel, damn it, and I'm disqualified because I'm on the show. Do it. It's so simple. Share the damn thing. 300 people? How hard is that? I mean, like it was said at the beginning, Noob said, get your grandparents in on it. Hell, tell them to have their pets listen, for God's sake. A pet has to have another friend somewhere.
If you even had 30 people bringing like 5 people each, you're getting a little, you know what I mean? You're getting a little bit closer. It's not that hard.
No, you spread it around. It's who doesn't want something for free? And this is a major free thing here. Jesus Christ, just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. All right, let's head over and let's give the next outro to Mr. Jago. What's happening with you and where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter, Xbox, and YouTube at Jago Cooking. You could find you used to be able to find me on the Daz cast. Daz is gonna you say that wrong every time. I can't do his accent. The Daz cast, but not anymore. Daz shut it down today. No more Dazcast for the foreseeable future. He's got a lot of stuff going on. I would say the WDFC, but Fastback, he just went back to work. Good, congratulations, brother. You do your family first. That's all that matters. But right now, you just find me on the Game Dosage on Monday nights when I don't have to work a 15-hour day and get here on time at 9. But yeah. Yeah, pretty much it, brother. Thank you to everybody who watches. We really appreciate it. And let's get to that 300.
Yeah, and shout out to UK Dazzy in the chat. Dude fucking shows up at podcasts and all crazy hours in the morning. Too bad to hear about the Dazcast, but it is what it is, man. Shit happens. But family I want you guys
man.
I want you guys to show Dazzy some love and support. You get a chance to go check out some of his awesome videos and all that good stuff because he's a huge supporter of pretty much everybody, guys, all over the place. But let's get to the next outro and let's go with Invader.
Well, hey, guys, thanks everybody for coming out to the show. You know, it's always great having such a wonderful fan base listening in. It was a shame not having Primal Eve or Glitch here, but we had still a pretty fantastic, solid panel, of course. You know, the usuals here. And yeah, UK Dazzers, sorry to hear about the Dazcast, man. I always had a fun time. Great show, but you know, it is what it is. And
family first.
Exactly. And you know what, dude? We appreciate you. We love you. You're great. You know, you're a big part of this community, and can't wait to see you on some of the other shows out there. And of course, you guys, you can find me on YouTube at Invader Gaming, and of course on Twitter at Invader_1986. And yeah, don't forget to share this stuff, all right, for a free console.
Yep, exactly.
Dazzy's too busy on the achievement hunting right now. The rate that motherfucker is going to catch up to Stallion here in the next couple of months.
He's gonna beat Rand. Holy shit, he keeps going.
Daz pulling down record number achievements here right now, motherfucker. I ain't even going to try to keep up. Yeah, he's smoking your ass. Yeah, just like he does when he plays you in Mortal Kombat. All right. Actually, no, I think Jago kicked his ass. Didn't you, Jago?
No, I beat him. Yeah, I beat him. We had a rematch. Yeah.
Got to get that in there. And finally, and last but not least, the dead man himself of every podcast, Mr. Stinking Corpse, brother. Tell people where to find your old crusty bones.
Oh, you can find my old ass on Twitter, YouTube, and Xbox at Stinking Corpse. PlayStation, it's X Stinking X. Mondays, of course, here on the Game Dosage podcast with all you great guys. Tuesdays on Retro Renegades with Graphic God J Dubs, Supersonic Station, and UK Dazarus. And yeah, you know, formerly Wednesdays you would find me on the Dazcast, but yeah, like you know, everyone said that Daz has decided to shut it down for now. Is the key word for now.
Can you start up your own? Call it the Spazcast instead?
I was talking to Sopsky earlier. He said he was going to start one. I was like, what is it, the bar ski or the beer ski? He's like, maybe the beer ski.
Beer sobs.
Yeah. And then, of course, Thursdays, WDFC is going to be put on a break for a while till Fastback determines the time because of his work schedule. He gets off. It'd been about half hour before it would start. So it's just a matter of finding the time out. And then when I do my random 4+ hour
corpse cast.
Well, thank God for the corpse cast and this one, or you'd be unemployed with this shit there, guys. Guys, make sure
you all in the unemployment line there, guys.
Make sure you do go follow all these fine cats. They are amazing dudes, great community supporters, and awesome podcasts as well. Invader's got a video out right now about We Happy Few, so you should go check that out and get his take on a few things. Maybe you'll want to pick up the game or not, but go check that out. Check out everybody's content, guys. You know where to find me, always in the gutter. Thanks for everybody for coming out and hanging out with us again tonight. Almost 2 hours in, and we're still having a good time. You guys are awesome. Just bring some more friends next week. Glitcher will be back, and we should be live on his channel, but thanks for checking out mine. We hope that you enjoyed the latest episode of the Gaming Dosage podcast, and yes, Primal Eve will be back next week. Don't worry, the snail trail will go through once again, so keep the fucking handkerchief handy. Catch you later, guys. Have a great night. We'll catch you soon.
Later, guys.
Later, guys.
Tight ass.